Farmers don't like batteries. Russian elites are upset. Scientists have discovered what makes tobacco have nicotine, and more. Chaz and Dave. This is the Daily Freakout for Tuesday, the 26th of May, 2026. Welcome to the Daily Freakout. Thank you for tuning in. I very much appreciate it because nobody tunes in. I don't know how many episodes I go before I give up that no one listens, or I maybe change something, do something different. Maybe it's this fluff under here. I personally don't like it. I need to trim this. I'm not sure how I feel about the mustache, but I need to trim a few things on the facial hair. That is absolutely for sure. We've moved things around a little bit here in the studio. You won't be able to tell any difference from your side, but I feel a little bit different, and that's a good thing. Change is as good as a holiday, they say. So here we go. Yesterday we played a little bit of Chaz and Dave. You'll notice that this is Chaz and Dave right here. We're not going to play as much Chaz and Dave today because we got a copyright notice on the Chaz and Dave. Apparently Chaz and Dave have more of a career and more of a more of a legal team behind them than Dr. Dollywell. Oh, no, wait, that way. There it is. Dr. Dollywell, right there. Who didn't get upset by the usage of the tunes, but Chaz and Dave did. So Chaz and Dave are not happy, and they don't want me to use their thing. And oh man, I'm having a bit of an issue here. I can't get I've gone too quickly into the show, even though I'm late by almost half an hour, and it won't screen. Oh, here we go. No. We've got something. Something's happening. Something is happening. Oh, well. There we go. Hello. Hooray. Congratulations, everybody. I didn't mean that to come up straight away like that, but there we go. That's what just happened. So we're going to go with our first article of today. Show is nice and professional. Yeah, so professional. This is the most professional show you can get. Gippsland farmers push back against Samsung's Zebra battery. I assume you pronounce that Zebra. Battery storage on agricultural land. In short, 3 battery energy storage systems, BESS. Okay, we're going with abbreviations on everything here. Are proposed for farmland in the Baw Baw Shire in West Gippsland. The company is proposing, the BESS says, extra electricity will be needed when Victoria's coal-fired power stations are shut down. What's next? Now, if you've watched this show or listened to me talk or followed me on any of the social medias, you will know that I am a big fan of electric, renewable energy. I think that so much of our world at the moment is electricity. Is it all about electricity? And the funny thing is, when people talk about nuclear, we have to always remember that nuclear is just a way to make electricity. That's all it is. It's still electricity. We're still making electricity. It's just the way we make it that's different. Coal, firepower, all that kind of stuff. It's just electricity. And to me, it's so much more, is that still working? Oh, that was dangerous. To me, it's somewhat sensible to go with renewables, at least at the moment, in addition to our other systems. And I am very pro big batteries to store electricity. Obviously, there are potential problems. Some batteries explode and all this other kind of stuff. So there's no perfect system at the moment. There's no system that is so eco-friendly that it doesn't have problems. They all have problems. And this article is all about the fact that there is some questions, there are some issues, there are things that need to be worked on in order to find the best system, and that's something I like about this article. This guy's been farming in West Gippsland for about 11 years. He's very fond of the area. And the interesting thing is we get a picture here of the big power lines. So we're okay with high voltage power lines, but we don't want any more of them, which kind of makes sense. I get that. That's fair. And I think it's not just about the land that's taken up, it's about the risks that are caused by these facilities, whether it be light, noise, whether it destroys people's visuals amenity, and the impact on the environment. That's all absolutely true. I think that's something that needs to absolutely be taken into account and should be considered with this kind of thing. The article, coming from the farmer's perspective, was never... It's not... It didn't come across as a, I just hate solar, solar's terrible, solar's stupid, no net zero, that kind of thing. That wasn't the case. The suggestion is that we need to take into account all of the things involved to get the best possible opportunity, best possible results, and the best possible situation. I wonder if if we're going to be mining and we're going to be digging big holes, those big holes then often become rubbish dumps, which is kind of good, kind of not. But it also, why couldn't we turn a big mine that's dug out a big thing into a battery storage facility? Obviously, that would then be, I don't know about the heat sink and the heat option, possibilities for a lot of heat. The other question is, why aren't we putting things out in the somewhat desert where it's not farmable land? Because obviously that's still going to interrupt things and still going to have potential negatives, but at least then it's not on land that we're using for food and we're trying to make for food. But we need lots of people talking about this and trying to work out what the best situation is, because you and I don't have the knowledge here. We don't have it. We need people like this guy, James Faithful, to be putting up questions and trying to fine-tune and find the best solution to this, because we can't just allow any company, even if it's something that I like. As I said, I like these kind of battery storage facilities and electric storage facilities. But just like a dam or a nuclear facility or a coal mine or any of that kind of stuff, there's potential problems, and we need to look at them for long term, because the more and more humans on the planet, the more and more destruction we cause, and it's somewhat worrying to think that that's something that we would rush into, and we don't want to do that. We just don't want to do that. And I'm quickly trying to set something up here because I am so professional. Just so professional. Oh, bit of wind in the background. So yesterday we got a copyright strike for these guys, but I don't care. He wants a proper coffee in his proper coffee pot, is what he's saying there. I've got this very long. There we go. You can hear the washboard, and you can hear the banjo, which is very prominent of the skiffle movement, as we were talking about yesterday, skiffle being a big part of Chaz and Dave's sound. Go check out Chaz and Dave, go listen to them, tell them Bobby sent you. That way maybe they won't be so upset with the fact that I'm playing a tiny, small amount of their record. Because I don't get it why. I understand that you can't just let anyone play records and music online, and when I've been editing videos and trying to make things and stuff, I've realized how important music is, and as someone who plays music and has created some music at some points, I am more and more understanding that it is harder than I thought it was, to to come up with original background and soundtrack type music and all that kind of stuff. And on one of my last geocaching videos, I think it was, I just used what was in Final Cut. I used some of their music, and even though the music sounded somewhat simple to me, like I could have made it, it still was easier and it was a good thing that I was able to use it. So I get it, and I want artists to get their money. But literally no one watched yesterday's episode. There was a big fat zero. And TikTok are not showing my videos to anyone, so I'm getting zeros on that. And no one's watching past the halfway point. Like, if you're watching right now, you've made it so far into this video that you are of an elite group of one, because you're the only person. And to me, it would be absurd for Chaz and Dave to be upset that I happen to play their record. But that's what happens in the future. Speaking of being upset, panic ensues after British radio station accidentally announces King Charles's death, but don't worry, he's fine. This is from Reader's Digest, of all places. I didn't know they did news now. But apparently a glitch in the software meant that they went to their Death of a Monarch protocol, which means that they've pre-recorded ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program, the king is dead. That's happened, and they've accidentally hit a button or had a software glitch, and it's gone out over the airwaves that the king is dead. And I mean, that's pretty intense. Even though I don't care for monarchy and for anything like that, King Charles hasn't really had any controversies as far as I'm aware. Oh, apart from cheating on his wife and potentially being complicit in that. But I'm certainly not a royal apologist, and certainly not a knowledgeable royal fan, but I would assume that he was forced into that marriage just as much as she was, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, when that happened, I think it was in the 80s that they got married, that he was just as much, hey, you've got to marry someone appropriate, you can't marry for love, just as much as it's always been. Game of Thrones is based on reality, even though the dragon part isn't. And as we know from Game of Thrones, a lot of people wed for completely unromantic reasons. And it would appear to me that that's what happened. And then he was incredibly unhappy and he cheated, and that was a controversy that he cheated. And it's like, yeah, but do we all not accept that this is a marriage out of or appropriate marriage? It's very strange. It's a very stupid system. That's part of the reason why I don't like it. But he seems like an all right guy with a lot of the things that he does. As a horticulturalist gardener myself, I quite like the fact that he promotes gardening and all that kind of stuff, and nature. He does seem to have a fairly decent appreciation for nature and for gardens and gardening. But apparently, he's still alive. A computer error is what is being blamed for this very serious announcement on Radio Caroline. This is Radio Caroline. We have suspended our normal programs until further notice as a mark of respect following the passing of His Majesty King Charles III, the station reportedly broadcast. Well, so their protocol is to play continuous, suitable music until further notice, instead of going on with their... So the interesting thing is that in this day and age, we would have so many resources. We would instantly grab our phone and do a search and go, is this real? Did this actually happen? Do I need to worry about this? And you'd find out that it's not real, and you'd go, what are these guys doing? This is weird. So, yeah, nothing to worry about. The king is okay, but isn't it funny that a radio station in England accidentally told everyone that he was dead? It's the modern world, isn't it? You have a computer glitch, and all of a sudden you're in big trouble. Growing frustration with Putin spreads among Russian elite, The Guardian. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Ukrainska Pravda? Ukrainska Pravda? If you speak Ukrainian or Russian or whatever language that might be, please let me know how to pronounce the name of that headline or that thing. Pravda.com.ua is the actual website, and I cannot pronounce the person who wrote this article. But apparently, people are getting pissed off with Big Vlad. I'm so surprised. I can't imagine why. Why would they be getting upset with Vladimir? This happens. Doesn't this happen every single time? What's that phrase of those who don't study history are destined to repeat it? And I would have thought that he would have studied this and he would have known that this was coming. Like, how do you not look at the world and the history of the world and not realize that if you get into a war that kills your people and makes it harder for people to have a good life, ultimately they're going to get pissed off with you and not be happy with you. Wouldn't it be amazing if we got a report out that Vlad had been pushed out of it, or that he'd fallen out of a window, which is the standard way to kill people over there in Russia? The Guardian noted that in interviews with several people in the orbit of the Russian leader, as well as sources in the Russian business world and Western intelligence officials, paint a picture of an isolated leader surrounded by an elite that is becoming rapidly disillusioned both with the faltering war in Ukraine and the economic downturn at home. I don't claim to be an expert or anything, but that sounds like Hitler's last days. Isn't that how Hitler deteriorated into the ground? There's definitely been a shift in mood among elites this year. There is profound disappointment in Putin, said a source described by The Guardian as a well-connected business leader. That just sounds like what you expect in this kind of situation. It sounds like what's happening in the US as well, because these people only want, like, the kind of personality that gets you into this kind of position is the kind of personality that destroys you and gets you out, because they only want yes. They want, this is an idea, it is great, do it. And I can sympathize. I feel that way about a lot of things. But luckily for me, I've had evidence that not all of my ideas are good and that they're going to work. My lack of success has been the thing that's caused me to go, maybe I need to change. And that's great for me, because I've had that attitude before where I've just been like, oh no, this is a great idea. In my head, it is a great idea. It should happen. Make it happen. Do it. Just do it. Don't listen to anything else. Just do it. And I don't like that kind of leadership. I don't like the whole just do what I say. I like some clarification. I like some meaning and some reason behind it. And you can't be surrounded by yes men. You need people questioning you so that you can better your thing. Any opinion, belief, or anything like that needs questions and needs to be broken down and then rebuilt better so that you can have a better opinion. It's my same attitude towards religion. Any religion worth its salt will take criticism and come out better for it. But most religions and belief systems like that just say, oh, no questions, don't ask questions, no. And I understand why they do that, because it's hard. Questions are hard. Being doubted is hard. But I don't know how Putin can be looking, like Putin needs to, and again, no, I'm no expert. In fact, I am a nobody talking to no one on the internet. Putin needs to be questioned and needs to sit down and seriously go, okay, what's going on here? Have I screwed up? And I assume he's thinking that. I assume he's gone, this has not gone well. Because as so many news services these days are pointing out, this was meant to be like a 3-day invasion of Ukraine, and it's now up to a few years worth. And hundreds of thousands, millions of people dead, etc., etc. It's the stupidest thing ever. It's the same with what Israel and the US are doing in Iran. It was meant to be a, hey, look how quickly we can get this done. And it just hasn't gone that way. It's failure after failure after failure. And just like the US, they're just saying, oh, no, it's fine. We're doing really well. We're winning. Oh, we've practically won already. And it's like, well, no, you haven't. Show us where you've won. You haven't won at all. Like, you're clearly struggling and you're clearly not winning, but you're saying and bullshitting that you've won, and that is very confusing.
My name out there is true, as puzzled 102. Dirty was me mother's name, and that's a name that sticks. Dickie was me father, so they called me Dirty Dick. Oh, walla, 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 Peru. My name out there is true, as puzzled 102. Dirty was me mother's name, and that's a name
you can't help but just bob along, can you? Hey! I don't know if it's the most appropriate Dirty Dick as the most appropriate thing that you could have on breakfast radio, but so I don't know. Yeah. It really is the kind of music that you want to have a few beers with and you go, hey, oh, hey, we're saying something a bit naughty. Oh. Anyway. Scientists solve 200-year-old puzzle of how tobacco plants make nicotine. Isn't that exciting? Apparently, the reason why that is actually exciting and actually interesting and stuff is that the nicotine plant can be used for medicine and making things like vaccines and stuff, which is fantastic. But, and let me find the bit just here. So, the team, which included researchers from the University of Copenhagen, so you can read along, discovered that nicotine is initially formed attached to a glucose molecule, which is added to give its building blocks the energy boost they need to snap together. However, the glucose is removed at the final step, appearing to vanish. This hidden step explains why the mystery endured for so long. So it's been a long time that scientists and what have you have been trying to work out how tobacco plants produce nicotine, apparently since the 1820s. So the same drug that people like about smoking, which is also the addictive part, which is also the problematic part, they're trying to get rid of that so that way they can use the rest of the plant to do interesting things, which is just fantastic. It's amazing that we are still learning all these details about plants. And given that I assume tobacco smells quite nice when it's a plant, it's only when it's burnt that it gets that, with all the extra added chemicals and stuff, where it gets that real crappy tobacco smell or cigarette smell. I would imagine that little project that place, that little greenhouse that they've got there, would actually be quite a nice place to work. It would be an interesting smell. Whether you'd like it or not, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I'll have to grow some tobacco in order to find out. But that's a really interesting thing from the University of York. I've came to a way of thinking a while ago that life is a video game. Like, I was playing some open world video games and I thought, oh, you know what? Life is like a video game, isn't it? We go around and we go, look at that plant. Oh, what if you grab that plant and do that with this? I wonder if that works, and that kind of stuff. It's the kind of thinking that gets you to the point of believing that that we could be living in a simulation, because somebody could have created this whole world and said, this does this, if you smoke this, it does this, if you do this, it does this, etc., etc. That's, even though I don't necessarily agree that we live in a simulation or that there is a creator like that, that sort of makes sense to me that could happen or could have happened. And being in a video game like that, in a simulation, you spend your entire time trying to discover how to make things work. If I press this button, does it do this? When I jump, I do this, blah, blah, blah. And these guys are doing that. They're just like, hey, look at this plant. If we use this microscope that's been provided, we can do this and we can do that and we can work this out. And it's fantastic. I really like this kind of science stuff where they're taking plants and they're discovering that, oh, look, in the process of nicotine growing as a plant, it has a little bit of it has a bit of a glucose molecule, and wow, that glucose molecule isn't there later in life of the plant. And what do you know? That's what if we get rid of that, maybe it won't have nicotine. Maybe we'll be able to grow a nicotine-free tobacco plant, which would be amazing. It is exciting because it has real-world applications. A close relative of tobacco, Nicotiana benthamiana. Botanical names for plants are fantastic. But Nicotiana benthamiana is already used in molecular farming to produce life-saving drugs and vaccines. It opens up new ways to use tobacco plants for good, not in cigarettes, but for medicines and other projects. That is fantastic. So thank you very much to those people. And hopefully they can continue doing that, and we can see some more plants being used for fantastic science like that. This is the Daily Freakout. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have made it all this way, as I said earlier, you are a very wonderful individual that has made it to the very end of the show, and few people do that. If you would like to purchase, or if you would like to have a copy of Chaz and Dave's Knees Up, quick little if you would like a little bit of Chaz and Dave's Knees Up Jamboree bag number 2, all you have to do is send me an email to bobbyfreakout@gmail.com, and I will give you that record. Anyone who listens to the final part of the show for this week gets the record of the week. I will send it to you. I have heaps of record mailer boxes sitting right up beside me. I need to get rid of some of them. I will send it to you if you have listened this far, because nobody is listening this far. This is very special stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Daily Freakout for Tuesday, the 26th of May, 2026. And I will see you tomorrow for Wednesday's episode, if I get my act together and everything goes to plan. Goodbye.